All right, everyone, it's time for another literary announcement. Wokeness is wrong. Now available. Link in the description to Amazon. I'll also pin it as a comment at the bottom in the comments if you're watching on YouTube. Cross-platform again, link in the description. This individual work it's only 27 pages. I kept it as short as possible so that it would be easily absorbed because it's very academic in tone. It's more dry. This is not Orange Man Big. This is not a bunch of fictional stories about liberals wanting to do deranged things with Trump's mushroom. This is more of a political refutation. Now, it's similar in function to Critical Race Theory Debunked. That's a booklet that I wrote some time ago that has sold extremely well and still does. My hope is that this one does the same, but I approached this from a slightly different angle. With Critical Race Theory, I looked at what the intellectual proponents of CRT proclaimed. There were 5 major overarching points as a subsystem, and I took it straight from their own mouth, from the horse's mouth, and then I debunked those points. Of course, a couple of them self-refute, which was helpful for me. With this, I identified 13 different points. Wokeness, CRT is partially subjugate to wokeness, so wokeness is the bigger issue at large. Subjugate to it would be things like ESG, affirmative action, etc., etc. 13 major points that I had to wade into, and in as terse a form as possible, trying to explain it simply but academically. I explain why the elements of wokeness are wrong, and how I approached it is different from CRT, in that I said one of the main copes that people that profess wokeness will engage in is pretending that the definition of wokeness is not real. So the definition you're using for woke isn't real, it's just about social justice. Or there is no such thing as woke, it's a phantom, you're making it up. What I did is I said, if you look at a machine, but you can't really understand, you don't know what it's called, you don't know explicitly what it's for, you can reverse engineer it. You can take it apart, look at the components, and attempt to find out how they interact with one another, inferring how the machine, maybe it's broken, it's from an old dwarven ruin or something. You can infer how it works, or at least the general purpose behind it. If we reverse engineer wokeness and look at these some components, what do its fans actually do? What do people who defend it, whether they use the term or not, actually do? What do those things that they do actually result in? And therefore I can make my deduction from that. If I look at the individual components, for instance, meritocracy being a bad thing, equity in place of equality, the shunning of the concept of equality, the concept that corporations can be sanitized by participation in ESG, the idea of giving the government more power to address historical grievances, again dovetailed with CRT, which also self-refutingly professes that the government was built by and for white people. Wokeness goes beyond the racial schema, however. We've also got to consider gender, we've got to consider economic situation, etc. CRT subjugates it all to race, whereas wokeness subjugates CRT. And my deduction is this. It's commie bullshit that effectively has been socially engineered in order to denigrate Western civilization. Because I can't find an example within wokeness, the actual pragmatic fallout from the practice of wokeness and the actual things professed, variably in some cases, by people who generally are informed by it. I can't find an example of something in wokeness that doesn't have the final end result of denigrating some major underpinning of the civic construct of Western civilization. I went through it. I attempted to find countervailing examples just to have something separate to talk about. Well, here's the one aside. Here's one thing that woke is doing right. I couldn't find any, though. I did have to research the topic a bit beforehand. In order to, one thing you do is you go to leftoids themselves, who are openly professing themselves to be woke and think that term is good. Simply look at what they do. What ideology do they push? What sub-ideological features of that ideology do they push? What is the likely end result of that ideological cause? That's all you have to do. It was simple. Once you do your research and you can find the different points that it stresses, you can define woke. They may not choose to use the term woke because they're trying to defend wokeness without using the name itself. But if it looks like a duck, and it walks like a duck, and it quacks like a duck, and it's eating breadcrumbs out of your hand, but then bit your finger, and it has a bill and feathers and all of these other things, it probably is a duck. At the very least, it's a close resemblance. It's close enough so that you can define it as a duck anyway. It probably is about the same on the dinner plate as well. That's how I approach this work on wokeness. So again, link in the description to my work on Amazon. Of course, it's only 27 pages, so it's shorter than Orange Man Big, actually. I will be then doing a similar work to this, but much longer, I think, on gun control, on the gun debate, actually, and attendant subtopics as well, to give people better debating skills when they are debating those that hate the Second Amendment, the right to keep and bear arms, the right to self-defense, and all attendant things. That's about all. Peace out.